Welcome back, everybody, to the Star Wars podcast, where we talk all things Marvel, Star Wars, and everything in between. Please take a moment to check our show notes to find our social media, merch, and more. Today, we are recapping The Bad Batch, Episode 4, Faster, in full spoiler details. So if you haven't seen the episode, I would get out of here. And I'm here with a guy that I had to bribe with Mantel Mix to come on the podcast. It's my good buddy, Tommy. Tommy, how are you?
I'm good because this is Riot Racing right here. This is Riot Racing, right? Yeah, I'm doing great. It's a great Bad Batch, a great time being here with you.
Yes, and we have some very fun guests here with us today. It's a collision of the multiverses. We are bringing on from the podcast Distant Echoes. It is Tommy and Cassie. How's it going, guys?
Hello. Also, very happy that you made the "now this is pod racing" joke because it had to be done.
Yeah, I watched Lily the minute it showed up. I'm like, okay, noted. Here's my intro. Like,
so I want to throw it to you guys. I'm going to throw it to Cassie first. Cassie, I want to get your takes. I want you to lay it out for us. What have you thought about Bad Batch season 2?
I'm obsessed. I mean, in a few words, I know, I've heard, I've seen people have varying commentary about how the structure's going, but I've always been obsessed with the Bad Batch. I've always loved the Bad Batch. I have a special love in my heart for Wrecker right now. He's my favorite. And I've just been so proud of them. And I really, I don't know. I adore them, and I've had a really great time so far with this season. So.
Yeah, and you know what? I saw on your Instagram, you guys have Bad Batch tattoos.
We do.
Yes.
Yeah.
We just
Incredible.
got them.
I don't know if it's going to be easy for the camera to pick it up, but
That's
cool.
great. It's perfect. I love it. Okay.
So we're committed.
Yeah. I'll throw it to the other Tommy too. You're in the same boat, right? You love the Bad Batch.
yeah, I mean, I think that obviously the show's not without fault or anything like that. I think for me, it's been season 2, it hasn't hit on the story notes that I think we're expecting a lot of the times. But I honestly love the kind of character development aspect of it. And I think we've gotten a lot of that, especially not this episode that we're going to be talking about, but the solitary clone. I think there was just so much that we get in that episode that I think was just really phenomenal. And then I love just seeing the relationships build. I think that's one of my favorite parts of any Star Wars extended material is just how those characters really develop. And I think we get some cool stuff with this episode in particular, and not as much in the first 2 episodes, but it's still there. And I think I enjoyed it at least.
Yeah, so I'll be honest, and Tommy, I told you this before we came on. I was like, I am not that high on this episode, but I've since rewatched it, and I think the thing is because I'm such there's so many questions that I have about this group. I want to know. I'm so impatient, and then we get an episode like this where it stops down. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of a drag. But once I accepted that and I rewatched it, I will say I had a lot more fun the second time around, and particularly the final race at the end I thought was really incredible for a lot of different reasons, and we'll dive into it. But Tommy, I'll throw it to you. What? How do you feel about Faster?
I think I'm middle, but I'm not down on it. I think it's a really solid episode, and I think in general, I will say about the Bad Batch season 2, it knows at least what the characters are. I think my problem right now is I don't know what the plot is. I don't know where we're going, and I think when I compare it to other shows like Rebels and stuff, we know there's we know what the mission is, we know what they're trying to do, basically just escape the Empire the whole time. So it's there's always that forward momentum, and I think right now it's I'm waiting for that forward momentum with Bad Batch. But I love the characters. I think this episode, the last episode, really got me excited, and I think this one was a nice let's take a little section of the Bad Batch and focus in on them, give a little bit more time, especially with Tech. I think I've said before, they haven't done much with. How do you differ with Tech and Echo really at a certain point too? It's
yeah.
So I think that's where I'm I can see the merit of the episode. I can see what there's parts that I was okay, I can see it's giving me something.
I've accidentally called Tech Echo countless times,
Oh,
and
I've-
like vice versa.
I've
like,
merged them together.
Yeah.
A lot, accidentally and maybe purposely, but yes, like I always joke that Teko's. I
You
just
did
did
say
it.
it, yeah.
Techo.
I did not mean to do it. Echo's like a bird watcher.
Yeah.
Like he's like this, like he's just fascinated. He's just completely out of like,
But that's
like
Tech.
social. Oh my god!
Yeah, that's
I
Tech.
still
see?
did it. See, so
They're the same person.
exactly. Yeah, it's just like one's a robot. They're both robots, really. Like, so it's really hard to like keep them apart. One's socially a robot. The other one's literally a robot. So.
Do we need to give them like hobbies or something? Like, I don't know, like Tech really likes drinking tea or something.
Yeah.
Something,
Yeah.
yeah.
They need something to differentiate them like a little bit more. I think they're trying to do that. That's why we had like them separated a little bit in the first 2 episodes. But yeah, I want more of that so that we're not just like constantly calling one the other one and getting them confused.
I will say though, this has to be like my favorite Tech episode. I mean, what a baller coming in at the end there. And I will say that was another complaint of mine. Is a little predictable. Like I feel like they set it up in the first couple minutes where our new character Teo is like a human can never do what I do, and it's like, oh, okay, I know where this is going. But with that being said, I really like the way it played out with Tech. I was a little nervous coming into this because Tommy, we spent a lot of time talking about how they're similar. I was like, I think one of them are gonna die, but I think they're going the opposite direction here. I think they are differentiating them pretty well. And again, just a lovely Tech episode for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, I'm just in my head thinking because of the Techo. What if we start shipping Tech and Echo? I'm just saying. Maybe it's
I'm
there.
down.
It's out there. You already know that it's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
The
gonna say
fanfic.
someone has shipped them for
Yeah.
sure.
I also love the little vignette. I because when I was looking at kind of like when they were panning to the crowd, there was always this scene of like this Twi'lek and then these other 2 like aliens that they kept kind of like cutting to during the racing scenes, and it reminded me a lot of obviously like the pod racing in the movie, but then also the Visions episode where they were doing pod racing.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking there was some type of connection to that. There might have been. I was trying to find it, but yeah, it was just I just love that little bit. But Echo, I remember when I was looking back at it, and his little goggles looked just like little Anakin and his little goggles and his helmet, and I just thought that was a perfect little like matchup.
Yeah, Tommy O. So what do you the riot racing here? I want to get into this because it is very similar to the pod racing. I guess the big difference is here what they have weapons, right? Is that what you gather from it? It's more of like I don't know, like the twisted metal of pod racing.
Yeah, that's what I gathered. And like their ships have like full. It's like more cars. Like it's a full. There's doors and stuff on it. That's really the only differences that I saw.
Yeah. I want to talk about here. I'll throw it to Tommy. I want to get your takes on a new character we get here, Teo, who is actually played by, I didn't realize this until a couple minutes before, played by Ben Schwartz from Parks and Recreation. So I don't know that I ever would have pegged that, but I did like Teo a lot here. I'll play this real quick.
You are doing it wrong, human.
A great sound clip machine. I'll give you that. So Tommy, what do you think of Teo?
So I have to preface by saying
As soon as we heard it, we knew.
I literally like sat bolt upright and I was like, that's Ben Schwartz. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God. So we're huge Ben Schwartz fans, Parks and Recreation, but also we're big fans of the comedy podcast, Comedy Bang Bang. He's a great improviser and has been on that like a ton. And so gotten to like hear him from that. And then also Sonic and Donatello and like the newest Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So like absolutely love.
Yeah.
I am obsessed with Ben Schwartz. And so
Yeah.
as soon as I heard it, I was like, yes. I was glad to see that so many other people enjoyed it as well, because I'll admit, as much as I loved the character and I love Ben Schwartz, it really just felt like Ben Schwartz being Ben Schwartz a little bit, which like is kind of what he does some of the times, but it works. And I think it worked for this episode. I was expecting a lot of people to have like pushback against that, but so far it's been a pretty, I don't know, it's been a pretty well-received character, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I liked it. I thought it felt a little over the top at points, but then my favorite part was Teo getting destroyed, or Teo getting destroyed twice.
Mhm.
That was like the best part, was like, the car just kind of coming in, or not the car, but the pod racer coming in and just hitting it the second time. So yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was so sad because they spent, there's like a whole scene of them like repairing the pod and then repairing Teo, and then like just completely demolished.
I wasn't sad at all. I'm here on the opposite side. I was so excited every time Theo died. I was like, yes.
Every time he died.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's because I didn't like Theo talking down to them of like, Tech gives advice and was like, I'm the one driving here. Offense is better. I was like, all right, Theo. Like, take a back seat. Come on.
Yeah, it was much. It was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So another thing I really wanted to touch on, and Cassie, I'll have you talk on this. I think this is very fascinating because I thought we were going to get a little bit more from this, but there's like this weird connection between like the villain of the episode, which I believe is Milegi, and Sid, and there seems to be like some sort of past relationship there. And I was like, okay, we're gonna like figure out what the thing is. But we end here on kind of like an ominous note where Milegi is like, you guys seem very trustworthy, but I don't know that Sid would return the favor. So what's going on here?
Yeah. I love that. And I think that actually ties back to the fact that, we were discussing a little bit ago about how like we don't have much big plot right now in the story. And I think this is kind of like our little nugget of like what's to come, maybe some foreshadowing. We're really big into Clone Wars, the animated series, obviously. And that is very heavy on the foreshadowing, especially towards like what happens in the movies. And I think maybe this is like an indicator of something that's going to drop, something that's going to happen. There's going to be a pivotal moment, I feel like, where Sid is going to have to make a decision, or the Bad Batch is going to have to make a decision where their loyalty or their friendship with Sid is going to be thrown into like some volatile situation. And we don't know this guy. We don't care what he says.
Yeah.
Like, we know Sid more than he does, we feel like. And, we've seen that Omega has this very strong bond with Sid and has saved Sid multiple times. So I think that's going to come to a head at some point. The Bad Batch are constantly doing that. They're constantly having to rethink and reconsider the fact that they're not just mercenaries anymore. That was another big plot point that we talked about Echo, actually Echo, not Tech, talking about wanting to do more against the Empire at this point because he feels like they haven't really gotten to do that yet. So I feel like this was just this relationship was really fun. It was kind of interesting. Like, they're sitting there over a bottle of wine. This guy's like giant hand. He's like tiny little bottle of wine. He's like, you want some? And she's like, no. And it's like, this is kind of spicy, but maybe not. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I got a little bit of that, but I was like, this is interesting. But clearly she was into some bad stuff, I think that's what our indicator was for sure.
Yeah, Tommy, do you have a read on this? Tommy O, is there sorry, this is
it's good to identify.
Is Sid the villain?
I think Sid is going to have I think what Cassie said, Sid will have a pivotal role, hopefully, because this is a lot of setup for it to not be something. And I kind of lean villain. Like, I kind of lean that Sid's going to let the Bad Batch down because I think that's more spicy. I think it's more spicy than Sid just being like, you know what, I'm going to side with the Bad Batch.
Yeah. Okay, so I did want to talk about like the actual final race here where Tech gets to step in, and I'll kind of throw out to anybody if anybody has comments on it, but I really thought this was like, especially again on my second viewing, I was like really enjoying this. I love the music. There was like some fun techno music going on.
Oh my God.
I was like, it's not something that that you typically hear in Star Wars, but it played so well. So I don't know if there's any any standout moments for you guys in that final race.
Yeah, speaking about the music, so Kevin Kiner, I think I pronounced that right, the composer, like tweeted out like, oh, it's this episode like coming up or something like that. And that was like before the episode dropped. And I was just like, what does that mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like very nervous, like, oh, there's gonna be like a music of like, I don't know, Darth Vader,
like
Anakin,
someone.
But then when like when the music hit for the for like the final race, I was like, this is an absolute bop. Like,
Yeah.
what is going on right now? Like, this has to have been what it was like excited about. I thought the music was great, and I thought that like the excitement of like the final race, like I didn't have like too much expectations like for the race itself, but I thought like they hit on like a lot of tropes, I feel like, in the actual race, and I think it worked. Like, I didn't think they had to do anything like super spectacular for it, but I did like the twisted metal aspect of it as well, especially at the end where it was like, no, I'm not going to use any weapons. I'm just going to divert everything to shields, and that like paying off. So it was cool, and I think the music just kind of like amped it up a ton, and that was probably my favorite part of the episode, honestly, was like the actual music in this episode. It was just really cool.
Yeah, definitely agree. I wanted to ask you guys, this is more of a general Bad Batch question. Do you guys have any theories on Omega? I feel like this is something like I got to get like it because there's so much out there. And it's probably more straightforward than it really seems. But again, I got to ask all the guests, what do we think about Omega? Where are they going with Omega? Yeah, I want to get your takes.
We've had so many theories and so many thoughts.
Yeah.
We just recently rewatched the whole first season, so we're kind of like getting our recall in on kind of what we actually saw. And you're right, like we didn't really see as much as I thought I remembered seeing about this. I know that I personally was really gung-ho, especially off the heels of Clone Wars. I was like, had this weird theory, hope that maybe it had something to do with Obi-Wan and
Satine,
because I felt like she looked like Satine. There was something very like regal about her, and I was like, that would obviously, she's not like, she is a clone, we know that she's not like their actual kid, but we also know that Obi-Wan was on Kamino when all of the cloning was happening, and
maybe they plucked an Obi-Wan hair out.
Something happened, you know, he brushed his teeth and they took his toothbrush. I don't know, like something happened. That's a more romantic idea that I had. But then we also have talked about obviously the Palpatine aspect of it all. If you want to talk about that.
There's some like, I don't know if there's anything there, but like I went down a rabbit hole and I was like, is her music like an inverted like piece of like Palpatine's score kind of thing, and like was like listening to him, and there's some, I don't know, there's some definite, like if you listen to
similarities for sure.
There's some similarities, but that's also probably just like the fact that they haven't given us like anything like to go off of, so it's just like grasping at like straws and like breadcrumbs and stuff like that. So
we saw what we thought was a strand cast, right?
Oh yeah, and the tubes like on Kamino when they're in like the old portion of the lab or whatever, it was like what there were like some other clone things there. We just don't know what they are. Like we have no idea what they could be. So I mean, she could be anything. She could. I mean, at this point, it's just kind of like I want them to give us like some little tidbit of like there's something else going on. Like she has to be. I mean, she's already a special character. She's great, but there's something else there. Like, I don't know what it could be. What are y'all's like actual theories though? Do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, mine. I hate that I'm there. I lean the Snoke route because it just like I want that to make sense. I think is also part of it. So I'm like hoping they like spend more time on explaining how that went down, but I don't want that for Omega. So it's like I'm battling those two sides of me.
Yeah, so I think a big one for me, like if I'm gonna go like actual like some concrete things in Star Wars that I kind of see like similar threads in a lot of the stories, cloning is becoming like front and center a big deal. Whether like we've talked about with between Sidious and Snoke, but also like the theories between Grogu and how there were Kaminoan scientists trying to steal Grogu. What's going on there? And we also know that I forget the name. The Kaminoan that like kind of gets away at the end of the last season, and they like find a new facility. There's so much cloning stuff going on. Like it definitely keeps you wondering there. But I think for me, and probably more something I would like to see is like Boba Fett and Omega reuniting at some point.
Yes.
And
Oh,
I
that'd
think
be
that could be the
cool.
great overall story. And unfortunately, like in my mind, like the great way to end that is like obviously she takes down Boba Fett, but like, is it going to go darker than that? Is Boba Fett going to take out Omega? I don't know. It's I'm a little scared about it. I feel like they're going for more of the hero arc with Boba Fett these days. So maybe not, but I think we will see them reunite.
Michael, hear
Yes.
me out. Okay.
All right.
All this get your shark, your briefcase is ready. What if all this cloning is leading to every single Star Wars character we know? They got the DNA. They're gonna create baby Star Wars.
Not this, Tommy. Not
It's gonna be
this.
Star Wars: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
And they're halfway there. Half the people are kids. We have baby Leia. We have a little Leia. We have a
Yeah.
little Grogu. Like,
Mhm.
let's just do
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Watch, they're gonna take me out soon because I just revealed their big drop over at Big Disney Corporation, Michael.
I don't know if you guys are Marvel guys, but this is Tommy. Tommy's been waiting for Baby Avengers for a while now.
I'm waiting until they call me up to write the script for it at this point.
I
mean,
love that.
they're not babies, but the show, the Spider-Man
The
show
Spider series
for
yeah.
younger kids, you know, that's kind of like partially there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's been sitting in front of us this whole time.
Yeah.
Michael, it's the sequel to the Jar Jar podcast. We'll do
Yeah.
I could probably tolerate a baby Jar Jar. That'd be pretty cute,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. Baby Jar
Yeah.
Jar. No.
Plenty of cute babies, I think. We would be fine with that.
Why didn't I pitch that during the doc? What was I thinking?
Yeah. Well, okay. Is there any other standout moments from this episode for you guys? Like, I'm out of my big talking points. I could go into like some weird stuff, but
Oh, for sure. I know for me, this is just stuff that I always point out because I just love it. I just love the little like mannerisms and characterizations they put into the characters, like on the sidelines. And one thing I really loved was Wrecker eating this like 3-piece like hot dog thing the whole time, and like he would have one, and then like a few minutes later they're having a very serious conversation. And he's still eating one. Like I don't know. I'm obsessed with him. I love him so much. I love that he's like we saw Hunter in the first season, which we actually haven't seen a lot of Hunter this season, which is kind of cool. You're right. Like we've seen a lot of the other ones. I'm hoping we get a Wrecker episode, where he's kind of at the forefront, but he's kind of like the father figure in some ways to Omega, it seems like. But Wrecker's definitely like the older brother / little brother of Omega. Like she has to take care of him a lot. So I just love seeing him just being so entertained and like just eating this weird hot dog chicken thing. I don't know what the hell it was.
I love weird Star Wars food. Like it's so anytime there's like food, I'm like, what is that? And like that obviously like it just looks like a hot dog on a stick, but like
But 3 times.
Wasn't like it was like, what was it? Like I want to know what that was.
Yeah.
Are you guys Galaxy's Edge folks? Have you explored the food out there?
So we're actually going there for our anniversary next year. We're going for a whole week. We're very excited. It's Tommy's first time ever going to Disney World. I went when I was like 13, so I've never actually been to Galaxy's Edge, but you can bet that we're gonna do everything. So we're very excited. But have you?
Tommy and I have both gone. Yeah, I was gonna mention like because I'm hungry right now, and you guys mentioning like I don't know, like the mystery meat stick. Like I don't know why I would just eat that. I don't know what the meat, and that's kind of like a Galaxy's Edge. It's like I don't know what this, but I'm gonna try it. Like they had this one. It was like fried chicken, but it came in like a cube, and it was like pretty big, like almost like fit in the palm of your hand. Like it wasn't like a chicken nugget, but I was like, hell yeah, I'm eating this.
I'm here for cube chicken. That sounds delicious.
Chicken. Heck yeah.
Tommy, do you have a favorite Galaxy's Edge food? I mean, I feel like we're going out the rails at this point, but come on, what do we got?
I mean, I don't know. It's the basic game. The Rotan wrap is pretty good. Give me some pita and like the sausage thing in the middle of it. I'll chomp down on that.
You know what? That had coleslaw in it, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm not interested.
You're out on coleslaw. Oh, get out of here.
Are you kidding me? I'm the southern one. I should be the one that likes it.
I love this. Might be a way, like I like taking a sandwich and putting like something like maybe I grew up near Pittsburgh, and so a big thing was like Permanente Brothers, which has like you put everything on a sandwich. And so like I love like you take some mac salad, put that on the sandwich, you take some coleslaw, just any of that, put it on it, Michael.
I wasn't hungry, but now I am. Oh man.
Well,
Okay.
one other little tiny thing that I like that we kind of were laughing at is the fact that they had this like tunnel area. Oh, the Lotho Minor tunnel too, by the way. The little hint. So you know how they kept mentioning don't go through the left tunnel?
Yes.
Lotho Minor is the junk world that Darth Maul was on, where he was that crazy spider guy. So I was geeking out about that because like Darth Maul's one of my favorites. And so that creepy, like kind of like torn out tunnel, that was really cool. But I also loved that there's like advertising in the tunnel.
I was
and
gonna say that.
like only the racers see that. So why is it was like, oh, that's cool. But then it was like, wait, why is it there? No one else can see it.
Maybe it's an obstacle. Yeah. Maybe it's like an oh no, distraction wall.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks good. I'm gonna get that later.
It's like the Geico lizard, like
Yeah.
I was gonna also call out. So we talked about oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. I just talked about how much I love him. Malegi, yes, the villain. That was Ernie Hudson. So from Ghostbusters, ton of just different credits to his name. But like we were like, that was another one where we were like, I know this voice, like, and I never want to like look it up when we're like first watching it, but I'm like
it happens a lot in Star Wars animation recently. I feel like you hear a voice and you're like, oh, that's somebody I know for sure.
Like Wanda Sykes in the first one. I know y'all talked about that a little bit of like, you know, how they're not like necessarily, I mean, I guess Ben Schwartz and Wanda Sykes kind of like straddle like the voice acting line, but how do y'all feel about like bringing in like bigger name people to like doing voice acting for a role that's almost kind of feels like it's like, oh, this is kind of a draw for the episode as well, instead of going to like the voice acting community, I guess.
Yeah, I think you have to do a little balance of both. I think like doing it, but like I know they've given roles to like other voice actors, like the Critical Role people, like in the first season they were around. So like I hope it's a good balance, but I don't mind it because it does, if it gets more people to watch the shows I love, then I guess I'm okay with it. But is that capitalism? And now am I just a horrible person? I don't know.
Yeah, see, I'm always a little, and here's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I felt like kind of a loser because, like, apparently, I'm not a Ben Schwartz fan. Like, I guess, like, you know, I've seen a little bit of Parks and Rec, but like, I was not picking out the voice, right? But you know, I do see the problematic, like, when there's like people that like, you know, this is their thing, and then somebody else comes in just because they have a big name and kind of like, you know, they're taking opportunities away from people that like train for this specifically. But it sounds like Ben Schwartz has done other voice acting gigs to begin with, which I was not aware of. So yeah, you know, it's give and take. You know, I think at the very least, keep pulling in people that like have some experience doing this, and it's not all about the name. Like again, I kind of mentioned, like, I don't know if it's shade to Wanda Sykes, but like, who came just to watch Wanda Sykes? True. Am I alone in that? Like, I don't know. So I don't know. I guess there's a thin line there where it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they haven't done it doesn't feel like egregious at this point. I think Ernie Hudson is like the biggest name person, I feel like, that ended up kind of being cast, but also, I mean, he did a killer job. I feel like that was a great performance, and very like, I felt like he had a very menacing kind of like, I loved his voice. So
well, and I know he's been kind of doing some voice acting too. Like he was in Infinity Train as the voice of Atticus, the corgi. So like maybe that's his thing now. Like he's like, all right, I'm done with acting, because I know a lot of them are doing that now too. Like that's the thing. Like you act and you're like, cool, now I can coast on voice acting for.
But also, who doesn't want to be in Star Wars? Like
I know.
I mean, everyone. You know, there's always something for everybody, and I feel like the same way with like Tommy O. Like, if it gets more people to watch like Bad Batch and stuff, like that's just super exciting. Tommy and I always talk about how, like, you know, we do all sorts of Star Wars stuff on our podcast, but we kind of focus on the animated series. But this year, there's so many live action things that we haven't gotten to dig into yet, that we were worried that Bad Batch would kind of get buried under all of that. So if this is like an incentive, you know, that's kind of cool. I mean, for Bad Batch, 50 or 80% of the cast is going to be Dee Bradley Baker the entire time anyway. So, you got to get a few other people in there.
Fair point. Tommy, anything else from this episode from your end? Tommy O. Oh my God.
No, I think for me, like, I just enjoyed it. And I think overall, I'm kind of surprised so far. And maybe I shouldn't be, because season 1 was kind of the same way. Like, how much action we're getting in Bad Batch. Like, it feels like every episode there's, like, an incredible, not just, like, throwaway action, but, like, incredibly thought out action scenes, which I really am appreciating.
Yeah, no, I totally love that. I'm going to blindside everybody here. I feel like we talked about the episode a fair bit, and I want to go off track. So something we like to do on Star Wars every now and then is a cameo draft. Pick one person that we think will show up in the show that's not in any of the marketing or anything. I know everyone's looking quizzical now. You're all thinking about your picks, and to be honest, I don't have one, so I was hoping somebody else would jump on. I still need to think about it, but I definitely wanted to do a cameo draft for this. Actually, I think I do have mine.
Oh,
should I go first?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I already laid it out. I don't know what like the long-term plans of Bad Batch is, like how many more seasons are we getting? But like I said, I think there's one character that you just have to have interactions with Omega, and I gotta go with Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that now. I hadn't really even thought of that, and then as soon as you said it, I was like, ugh! Like, I don't know. I just got so emotional. I was like, that's so amazing. That would be such a great interaction. So I love that idea.
Yeah, that's a great one. And I think it just works too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, what is Boba Fett doing at this point? Like, bring him in and just have him do a mission together or something. That would be a cool thing where it's like somehow they get hired and they're on, like, Sid like pairs them up with someone else, and it turns out it's Boba Fett. Like,
and so like,
I think that could work.
Yeah. And if anybody else has something, they just throw it in. I mean, we don't. I guess it's like first come, first serve at this point.
I have one I think I've thought of before, and I'm so bad. It's like we talk about Star Wars all the time, but I still get the timeline messed up all the time. So just call me out if you're like, this person doesn't.
Time travel, that can be a thing.
No, but I think I think Leia would be really cool with Omega.
Ooh.
Does that work?
She would be like a baby at this point,
But
right?
still, like, we have Hera who's younger, and I just like seeing the younger, like, female characters, especially. I mean, Omega's so cool. Like, we've talked about how, like, usually kid characters are really annoying, and I was really nervous when Omega was first introduced. I was like, I hope this kid is not like a pain in the ass, but she's so awesome. So, like, I don't know. I think that'd be kind of interesting.
Like that one.
Maybe it's a baby Grogu situation or a Grogu situation where she like carts baby Leia around. I don't know.
Star Wars babies. It all comes back to Star Wars babies.
A little bit. I don't know.
No, I like it. I think that would make sense. I think at the very least, like, a kid, like maybe a little bit younger than she was in Kenobi, but again, you have that actress that could come in and do a voice of a child, so there's something. So either of the Tommies, do you guys have
I could go with my very my classic Jar Jar. I could always do a classic Jar Jar, but I like your bounty hunter thing. I could see like a bounty hunter episode where they team up with a bunch of bounty hunters. We get a bunch of cameos. So maybe give me a Bosk. Maybe like a Bosk.
That's interesting because that was my pick for Kenobi, I believe. I think I predicted. I think that was my cameo draft. Did not get it, but we'll just keep saying Bosk until we get more Bosk.
We have a rotation. It's just Jar Jar, Bosk. Yeah. We'll get one of them one day.
Yeah, the Obi-Wan one was very like we had so many theories too, and like there was no one. Like I feel like there were no cameos basically, like except for like a lone clone trooper. So that one was. I feel like everyone's like. If you were doing a picking cameos, your picks got busted.
The man, I'm just gonna do a throwback though, but when we watched Mandalorian and Cad Bane came out, I stood on the chair freaking out. Like I had no idea. I did not realize that he's one of my faves. I did not see that coming either. But like, I don't know.
Yeah,
just blew my mind.
I think if I had to pick a cameo, this is more just like I want this character to be in more stuff, but I think Kanan I think would be a good one. I mean, I know we already kind of got him in the first, we didn't kind of get him. He was in the first season, but bringing that back around, that would be an interesting like bow to tie up a little bit, having him be reintroduced to the Bad Batch. I think that would be really cool, especially since we've had Hera, we've had Chopper, may as well round out the crew.
I think Rebels is a very good place to. I could definitely see that connection coming in, especially because I think Rebels is going to be a hot topic. So I could definitely see these correlations coming in this show as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not like they did like too much Kanan already, right? They brought him in Tales of the Jedi, so it's like just keep it rolling. Like every animated show, just give us a little bit of Kanan. So it's not. I don't hate the pick at all. Okay, well, I think we a successful. I'll recap here. I picked Boba Fett. Tommy O picked Bosk. Cassie picked Leia, and Tommy picked. I already forgot. Who'd you pick?
Kanan.
Kanan. That's right. Okay. Okay. I would like to move into some recommendations here, if you guys got them. And Tommy O, you told me straight up, you're like, I have a recommendation today. So Tommy O, I'm going to throw it to you first. What do you got?
I do. Can I do a classic Tommy and do two that kind of are correlated?
All right, fine.
I might steal someone's though, because the first one is a real big topic.
You are doing it wrong, human.
Yes.
I love that.
But listen, it's my all right. I gotta talk about this show because this is my avatar for you, Mike.
Well, hold on. Can I recommend?
You do it. You recommend it, and then I'll bounce off.
Yeah.
So my rec, which has some connections to the thing you're gonna rec very loosely because of the voice actor. But hey, tomorrow I talked about it last year. Vox Machina, Critical Role. You guys, I talk about it so much on this podcast. But the second season of Vox Machina is coming out. I'm really excited. I'm just glad that it's still successful. And from what I've heard so far, it's a good season. I've heard kind of middle. But it's, go watch it. Go spread that. That's all.
Okay, I'll go next because I was gonna do your other one already. And I think we're gonna talk about it at some point on this podcast. We'll talk about the specifics of it, but The Last of Us, based on Tommy and I's favorite video game, has come out. We watched episode 1. We're coming up on episode 2 this week, and it is so good. You don't need to have played the video game. It's basically like an exact recreation of the video game thus far. So I'm very happy about that. It's very faithful. Again, I think Mandalorian fans out there, Pedro Pascal's in there, and he's even doing kind of the lone wolf and cub thing again with Ellie. It's very very similar themes there. So if that's something you're interested in, if you like zombies, a big zombie guy, Tommy, I always end up recommending zombies.
You do. You love the zombies.
Yeah, I love the zombie genre, whether it's Black Summer, Walking Dead, The Last of Us. So definitely check that out. It's very good.
Yeah, this is my baby. Like I will hurt anyone that says anything. No, you can talk bad about it, but it really is like I'm just excited to see it. The game came to me at a certain period in my life that really meant a lot, and man, it's just cool to see it on my screen. That's all.
All right, Tommy and Cassie. Oh, y'all can do separate ones. I don't have to shoehorn you guys together. But
now I need to think of one.
Well, while you're thinking, or if you don't want to harp in, but I've been obsessed with kind of not on the opposite side, but very similar to Tommy O. I watch Dimension 20, which is Dropout TV, formerly kind of part of College Humor's kind of series of tabletop role playing, and I'm absolutely obsessed. It is so good. The storytelling is incredible. One, Brennan Lee Mulligan, who is an actor and comedian, he is like the central DM that's on most of the series. Their newest season, Never After, is not something that I thought I would be interested in on like in terms of your regular Dungeons and Dragons series, but it's about like grim fairy tales coming to life. And so the characters are all from different fairy tales, and they call it the Intrepid Heroes cast. So it's like the main cast that keeps coming back. They're all so funny, so witty. Brendan is doing an amazing job at making this season very scary and grotesque and weird. And if you have the ability to sub to Drop Out, you will not be disappointed, especially with all the other things that they have. It's just an amazing platform. I've had a lot of fun with it. So
yeah, not only the D&D stuff, like their other shows are just as funny.
So good.
Yeah,
So good.
Let me jump in here real quick because I'm very clearly on the outskirts of being like the D&D person here. But I want to ask Tommy and Cassie, like you play D&D?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys DM?
I have my D&D shirt on. Incidentally.
Do either of you have experience in DMing or dungeon
Both
master?
do, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We've been playing with the same group for almost
Like 15 years?
15 years, which
Nice.
is insane. Not like consistently, very inconsistently,
Yeah.
but
Well,
Yeah,
I
we
don't know. Like as somebody being on the outside, like the thing that would like really get me into role playing games, if like there's like a Star Wars version of it, and I'm just saying, like Tommy, I mentioned it to you before as well. If we could ever get like a Star Wars role playing game podcast going on, I'm just saying, if you want to suck me into that world, that would be the way to do it.
okay.
We'll put a pin in that and come back to it.
Okay. I hear you.
Yeah. We've always wanted to do. We've done sci-fi campaigns, but never anything that was specific to Star Wars. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That would be.
I'm starting Spelljammer this weekend, so I'm very excited. I'm running Spelljammer, so I'm very excited.
Nice.
Incredible.
We started this is going so off tangent, but we started like a sci-fi campaign like a couple months ago, and it's fallen off right now, but like it was way before Spelljammer came out, and I was like, how do I get like some of the Spelljammer stuff like in here early, like and it was just like I should have just waited and it would have been perfect.
Yes.
I was gonna say for Rex, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on anything. I'll just do another Dropout show. If you end up getting like watching any Dropout stuff, Game Changer is so funny. It's a game show that they literally change the game every single time they play, so it's a different game, and they get a bunch of improv comedians in, and the last episode they did was a group that does improv Shakespeare, and they just fully leaned into that, and the whole episode was just like a full play basically of improv Shakespeare. It was hilarious. It was still a game show. They still awarded points and stuff. It was one of the like funniest and coolest like TV things that we've watched. So another one for you there.
Good stuff. Well, that appreciate all the Rex. Tommy and Cassie, this is so fun. I really appreciate you guys doing this with us. I hope we get to do it again soon. But I want to give you guys the chance to tell people about Distant Echoes.
Yeah. So Distant Echoes is our little podcast. We just started it over like a year ago, maybe.
We're like a year and like 2 months or something over.
But it just was our like kind of little project to get to spend some time together, and I mean we do that all the time anyway, but like getting to also share our love for Star Wars, which we both have like very distinct relationships with, and we just got completely obsessed with the Clone Wars series and all of the animated shows. And while we delve into all of the things that are going on in Star Wars right now, we really have a love for the animated series, and we kind of just watch whatever's going on. I mean, we did the Star Wars holiday episode for Christmas last year, and it was so much fun. And we've done Mandalorian and Boba Fett, and we're just gonna dig into everything we can. We love talking about the lore, and we like to go sidetrack into whatever, because I typically sidetrack us all the time. So, what do you want to say about it?
Yeah, go listen to us. I guess. I mean, you did a phenomenal job. Yeah, that was it.
I got to do a plug for the Horror Moments podcast you guys did. That was really fun. Good stuff there. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Tommy, what's going on in your world?
Hey, I'm here, right here in this seat with you, on Thursdays covering Bad Batch. Otherwise, where can you find me? On Twitter at Tommy's Tidbits. Sometimes I tweet stuff. Sometimes I just like aggressive tweets about how we should get rid of the OGL. But hey, that's another whole story. And then I'm in the Discord, running D&D on the Discord. Post-show recaps. They also cover recaps. So if you ever want to join, that's where I am. And yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, I will start to close this out here. I like to remind you guys to rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify, preferably 5 stars. Also, please subscribe because we're going to be here every single week with Bad Batch recaps. We got other fun stuff coming. You know, we're talking about things. Just stay tuned.
Stay in your seat. Don't move because we'll be here.
Don't change the channel. Is that how podcast works? Don't 3x us. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Specifically, again, I've been trying to like do a daily post on Instagram. Like I'm going hard on the Instagram. So check us out on Instagram. You can talk to me there, and let's be buddies. Also, we have some new merch, Tommy. We got like the
Merch.
we got like our logo is like the Iron Man Mandalorian helmet, but we have like the full body now. So if you want to check that out, that'd be really cool too. Also, ask us for our Discord link because we have a little Discord community going on, and we'd love to have you there. But that is all we got for you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.